say all the court orders and government mandates in the world won't do a bit of good unless the funding is there. Already millions of dollars have been cut from education. So what happens when the mandate is still there but the funding is gone? What happens to their future? What happens to all of ours? Judy Alsobrooks, Mississippi News Tonight. Keeping the aircraft grounded doesn't necessarily mean it's been cost-free to the state. You still have expenses like storage and maintenance, and the pilots who are still on payroll. There's so much history in the mansion till it's not surprising at all to know that there are ghost stories floating around. But in order to get a feel for the past, we need to fade back in time, way back. David Smith had a somewhat distant expression as he was escorted to the Hinds County courthouse, and he kept that look as 4 witnesses gave their accounts of what happened on the evening of February 4th, the night Officer Ricky Joe Simmons was killed.
I can't say anything right now because
Smith's brother testified that he called police that night when his brother became uncontrollable and broke into their home. It was during that testimony that he offered new information, saying that Smith's mother, Lodinia Smith, attempted to drop charges against her son. Once on the witness stand, she gave pretty much the same account, saying she told Officer Simmons that David had just gotten out of Whitfield and pleaded with him not to kill her son. And she claimed she asked Simmons not to take him to jail.
It's natural. Brothers, sisters, mothers, daddies, they all eventually come around to the defendant's side because he is related to them, the old statement of blood's thicker than water.
However, Smith was bound over to the grand jury. No surprise to defense attorney Thomas Fortner.
If I were the district attorney, I would want any kind of death case, any case where somebody gets killed, to be investigated by the grand jury. And I think most people want the grand jury to be investigating this and making the decisions of whether or not someone should be prosecuted or not.
Meanwhile, the wife of slain Officer Simmons observed the proceedings with her attorney. Neither would say whether they would file lawsuits against the city and police department in the death of her husband. The defense attorney stopped short of saying he would use insanity as a plea, though he said he would be examining Smith's records from Whitfield in order to determine which direction to proceed. From the Hinds County Courthouse, Judy Alsobrooks, Mississippi News Tonight.
CWA.
A steady flow of calls has been coming into the State Employees Union Hall since Wednesday. Workers are frantic over a recently approved furlough plan. It'll mean 1 or 2 days off work per month without pay and will affect more than 12% of the state employees.
It's going to be a tragic situation, that's going to be one that's a lot of confusion and a lot of fear on the part of employees, and they're mad, they're upset.
Ruby McDaniel, who works in the Department of Agriculture, is one of those who's upset.
And I don't feel like the burden should be put on the state employees to balance the budget. I work 2 jobs and have ever since I've been here to make my living. And I know with people with families and children, it's really going to hit hard.
Mike Taylor, a husband and father of a 2.5-year-old, will be hit by the furlough. He's worked for the state for 15 years.
It may come to the point that, if this has to go on for several months, I may have to try to find something on the weekends to do.
Agriculture Commissioner Jim Buck Ross is concerned.
What bothers me is this, that you can cut, but there's a clinker. And that clinker is that sooner or later you become inefficient.
The Corrections Department was the hardest hit. More than 2,600 employees there will absorb $4 million cuts. So the bottom line is, while legislators grapple over balancing the budget, state workers are resentful, feeling that they are the ones who are paying the cost, a heavy cost that could keep them from balancing their own household budgets. Judy Alsobrooks, Mississippi News Tonight.
911 emergency, can I help you? Beg your pardon? Hello? This is the police department. Somebody need the police?
The frightened voice that you heard on the 911 tape belongs to 4-year-old Ashley Brumfield. She possibly saved her mother's life this morning when she made the call to a Jackson police dispatcher. Cindy Brumfield remembers very little after she became ill.
was having an asthma attack and I passed out. And the next thing I knew, there was the police officer. And he said she had called 911. Hi, girl.
Paramedics went to the Brumfield house and found Cindy face down on the floor with Ashley crying at her side. Ashley knew to dial 911 because she had learned a special song in daycare.
911 for safety.
The words are 911 for safety, but what she was learning at school was reinforced at home.
My wife had been working with her on dialing her home phone number and 911 and things like that, so I guess it paid off.
Ashley feels a lot better since she sees that her mommy is going to be all right.
I love you, Mommy.
I love you too, darling.
Judy Alsobrooks, Mississippi News Tonight.
I think if I didn't get prenatal care by them giving me Alamid high blood pressure pills, I believe I would have died.
18-year-old Valerie Stewart is fortunate. She lived through a difficult childbirth, and so did her 6-month-old daughter, who weighed less than 2 pounds at birth.
Once I got to bed and went saw her, she was small, and the only thing I could do was count her little fingers and toes. That was all. And I went down to the chapel and I prayed, and I really thought she was going to die, though.
Valerie's story is not at all uncommon, especially here in Mississippi. A study called Kids Count shows the state last in caring for its children. When it comes to low birth rate, deaths among children, and teens having babies, Mississippi is dead last. And that alarms child advocates like Rims Barber.
No child ought to go hungry in this land of plenty. No child ought to be without health care. Every child deserves an education. Those are basic things that we ought to give to all our children.
There have been slight improvements in some areas, like the infant mortality rate. Since 1980 to 89, deaths among infants have dropped from 17 a year to about 12. Some feel that those numbers may climb again if too much funding is cut. Already programs are beginning to phase out. Sylvia Morrow is one example where a needed program for her 8-month-old baby is no longer available. Brianna has Down syndrome and had been doing well in a child development program in Gulfport. Her family has had to turn to other private services that are having problems of their own.
Their turnover is great. Every couple of months they have a therapist that is leaving. So she's really not getting the chance to develop that relationship, and of course that's affecting her performance.
But it's the performance of Mississippi that is being scrutinized closely, and right now the report card doesn't look good. Judy Alsobrooks, Mississippi News Tonight.
Dr. Margaret Walker-Alexander has been a special voice in Mississippi. She has seen both the ugliness and the beauty of this state, and she has responded to both of them through her vivid themes, images, and characters. Judy Alsobrooks talks with her about her life and her work.
Dr. Margaret Walker-Alexander is still busy writing. Though she says she's not as quick as she once was, she still has 4 books, including her autobiography, to write. She has had 10 books published, all of which have won prestigious awards. Her first book, For My People, which is a collection of poetry, received the Yale University Poets Award. Jubilee, a Civil War novel about her great-grandmother, was completed in 1965 after years of research. The fictionalized history has drawn worldwide acclaim, having been published in several languages and in reprint dozens of times. However, her illustrious career has not been without controversy. She once unsuccessfully sued author Alex Haley, charging that portions of his novel Roots were similar to Jubilee's texts. She has always been able to separate her public from her private life, since she's not only a writer, but a mother of 4 and an educator as well. She began teaching here at Jackson State University in 1949, watching the campus grow over the decades. Dr. Alexander gives a lot of credit to her parents for her successes today. The daughter and granddaughter of ministers, she was raised in a loving and caring environment where all she knew was church, home, and school.
Nobody smoked, and there was no liquor ever in the house. I never heard my father use a swear word. I never, and there was no card playing, and the dancing might be my sister or my mama, but I never learned to dance. The first time I played cards with my peers, I didn't want to admit that I didn't know how to play cards. So I heard a girl say about me, "That girl reneged 13 times."
Did you know what renege meant?
I didn't know what renege meant.
Were you with your own children a strict disciplinarian?
No, I'm no disciplinarian at all. My husband and my mother disciplined my children.
Why not you?
Because I decided when I was a little girl and got all those whippings every day from 2 and 3 people a day that I would never whip a child.
When did you start writing poetry?
I wrote my first compositions as prose. But the next year, in the next 2 or 3 years, I was writing poetry, a great deal of it. And my father gave me a book to keep my poems together when I was 12.
Do you recall any of the lines?
Yes, what did I say? One, they're strong and bronzed and smart, these dark-skinned brothers of mine. Though men have tried to crush their hearts, they've stood the test of time.
And you were how old?
About 11 or 12, I guess 11. I couldn't have been much more than that. And one, it's just a bit of sunshine and just a bit of spice that's made something and made this world so nice. That was the first one, I remember that.
Mississippi is very important to you.
Mississippi has been just wonderful for me. I came in '49. For some reason, Jackson appealed to me. I thought when I came here, this seemed to be a community where black people had a lot of pride. They had the tendency to buy houses, plant gardens, have flowers, send their children to college, and work for improving the people. They were very good citizens. And we moved in this house in '55, and that's the year that they killed Emmett Till in Money, Mississippi. And 2 men came from the NAACP to see me in this house where we had just moved. And they said to me, "Margaret, we need somebody to make a voice in Mississippi. Can't you be that person?" I said, "I can't be." They offered me a job with NAACP, and the job paid $10,000. And my neighbor took the job, and he was assassinated in '63. Edgar Evers was my neighbor, and he took the job.
Were you home that night when it happened?
No, I was in Iowa. My children said that the boys down the street came up at midnight and rang the bell and said they'd heard the shotgun, but that he was dead. When my landlord came in that day and told me, "Mrs. Alexander, I have some very bad news. Last night someone shot Edgar Evers in his driveway and killed him. He's dead." I jumped out of the bed screaming. I could not believe it. But Mississippi has, in every respect, been good for me.
Out of all your accomplishments, what has been your proudest moment?
Well, you know what I tell people? It was harder getting to be MRS than to be PhD. And my children and my husband have given me my greatest pleasure. We built a home. We built a family. We helped to make a community. I think I said the day that Mayor Dale Danks presented me with the change of the streets, "To God be the glory for the things he has done for me."
Don't miss the Jackson State University National Alumni Scholarship Concert featuring legendary blues artist Bobby Rush. It takes place February 26th from 8 p.m. to midnight in the Lee E. Williams Athletics and Assembly Center on the campus of Jackson State University. Also featured in the concert is popular R&B singer Pat Brown. Tickets are available. Funds raised will support scholarships at Jackson State University. For more information, 979-2281.
This is a good thing, good cause. Be there.
Follow me as I follow God on Friday, May 6th. All roads lead to the Rose E. McCord Auditorium on the campus of Jackson State University for the JSU Tsunami Gospel Benefit Concert. Join Harvey Watkins Jr. and the Canton Spirituals, Evelyn Turrentine Agee, Lillian Lilly, Anderson Sanctuary Choir, Ben Conan Worship, and the JSU Gospel Choir. Purchase your tickets at Bebop Record Shop, JSU Bookstore, or online, www.jsums.net. Tsunami.
Black college, yeah! Talent hour, black college! Talent hour!
It's all the fun and excitement of historically black college and university competitions. 9 p.m. Tuesday and 7 and 11 p.m. Thursday on Jackson State University's TV 23, Time Warner Cable Channel 61. TV 23, working for a better community.
Talent hour, black college!